The alien arrived on Earth quietly, stepping out from a silver craft that gleamed under the morning sun. It moved with careful precision, its movements smooth and deliberate, almost as if it had studied every motion before taking a single step. The air smelled different here, filled with scents the alien had never encountered. Earthy, moist, and strangely alive. For the alien, this world was a puzzle, a place that looked simple at first glance, but held countless secrets beneath the surface. Its mission was clear. The alien had been sent to observe humans during a military exercise, a prelude to a battle that, according to the alien's intelligence, would reveal much about humanity's strengths and weaknesses. The alien was calm and collected, its mind trained to process information without being influenced by emotions. It had watched many species before, but humans were supposed to be straightforward. Their technology, their communication, and their rituals had all been studied from afar. Nothing about them should have surprised the alien. At least, that's what it thought. On the first morning, the alien stood on a hill overlooking the training ground. Soldiers were moving in formation, their movements precise and well rehearsed. They carried weapons and wore protective gear, helmets reflecting the sunlight in bright flashes. At first, everything seemed orderly, almost predictable. The alien's eyes recorded every detail, the spacing between soldiers, the rhythm of their steps, the timing of their commands. It noted their movements as if watching a machine operating efficiently, but without realizing it. The alien was starting to feel a faint tug of curiosity it had not encountered before. The soldiers laughed quietly among themselves, exchanged words the alien could not understand, and tapped their helmets or adjusted their armor. These small actions were meaningless in the alien's calculations, mere distractions in what should have been a perfect exercise. But the alien noticed something else, something subtle. When a soldier raised his voice to cheer on another, or when two soldiers gave a thumbs up, there was an energy, a spark that went beyond simple commands. The alien paused its recordings, unsure what to make of it. It was observing patterns, routines, and rituals, but here was something different. Something alive. By midday, the alien had moved closer, stepping through fields and across shallow streams, careful not to make a sound. Humans seemed unaware of its presence, or perhaps they were too focused on their routines to notice. It watched as one group of soldiers gathered in a circle. They began chanting, moving in rhythm, their fists pounding the ground and the shields in front of them. The alien tilted its head, analyzing the scene. It had expected drills, coordination, and perhaps some formal ceremony. But the noise, the energy, the passion was beyond anything its logic could explain. The alien tried to remain detached, reminding itself that its role was observation, not participation. It scanned the circle again, noting the shapes of the symbols painted on the shields, the way the soldiers' eyes burned with determination, and the rising volume of their voices. There was something almost ritualistic here, a sense of purpose that the alien could not translate into data. It recorded measurements, yes, but the heart of what was happening eluded it entirely. Each chant, each slam of a fist, each shouted encouragement seemed to carry a force that could not be measured by sensors or translated into numbers. For hours, the alien watched quietly, moving only when necessary to maintain a better vantage point. It observed soldiers encouraging one another, clapping hands, and exchanging smiles. In the alien's world, emotion was considered a weakness. Logic and reason were paramount. Yet here it was, confronted with humans whose very strength seemed to grow from their emotions. Courage, fear, determination, loyalty, all these feelings were visible, almost tangible, in the soldier's movements. The alien's mind struggled to comprehend how something so seemingly illogical could be so powerful. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the training field, the alien noticed another pattern. Certain soldiers led the chants, while others followed with unwavering focus. Even those who appeared tired or anxious continued to push forward, driven not by orders alone, but by an unspoken connection. The alien sensors picked up increased heart rates, elevated body temperatures, and bursts of adrenaline. But it could sense something deeper too, something beyond biology. The humans were sharing energy, passing determination from one to another in a way that no mechanical measurement could capture. The alien felt a faint stirring, an unfamiliar sensation. It paused to analyze itself, reviewing its training protocols and data logs. No species it had studied before displayed such complex, layered behavior. The humans were physical beings, yes, but their true strength came from their minds and hearts, intertwined in ways the alien had not anticipated. Each movement, each chant, each shared glance built something invisible but undeniable. It was a force that could inspire others, unify a group, and push individuals past limits they might never have believed possible. Night began to fall, and the alien finally stepped back, settling near a tree to observe from a distance. The soldiers continued their routines, now quieter, preparing for the next day. The alien reflected on what it had witnessed. It had come expecting to see efficiency and technique. Instead, it had seen fire, spirit, and a fierce bond among the humans that no data point could fully explain. It realized that understanding these beings would require more than observation. It would require experiencing, or at least recognizing, the invisible threads that connected them. By the end of Part 1, the alien remained calm on the surface, but inside, a quiet storm had begun. It was the first day of a long mission, and already humans had challenged its understanding of strength, courage, and unity. The alien's gaze drifted to the horizon, where the sun had disappeared and the sky was painted in shades of orange and purple. Somewhere among the trees and fields, humans were laughing, training, and preparing. And somewhere within the alien, a small, unspoken realization had begun to grow. These creatures, so ordinary in appearance, were anything but ordinary in spirit. For the first time, the alien felt a mixture of anticipation and caution. The days ahead promised more observations, more rituals, and perhaps a closer look at the human heart. But for now, it sat quietly, recording notes and watching the soldiers as they prepared for the battles of tomorrow, unaware that the alien had already begun to change in subtle ways. It was an observer no longer entirely detached, and the seeds of fascination had been planted. The journey had begun, and the alien would never look at humans or itself the same way again. The alien spent the next morning preparing for another day of observation. The sun rose slowly, casting golden light over the training fields, and the alien moved silently among the trees, careful not to disturb the humans. Yesterday had been unexpected, full of strange rituals and energy that it could not fully understand. Today, it wanted to watch more closely to see if the humans would act the same, or if it had been a one-time display. As the alien approached the main field, it noticed the humans were already gathering. There was a sense of purpose in the way they moved, but this time it was different. The air seemed to hum with anticipation. The soldiers whispered among themselves, exchanged nods, and tightened straps on their gear. The alien observed quietly, analyzing the subtle cues, the way their eyes scanned the horizon, the rhythm of their footsteps, the small but confident gestures they made. Everything seemed small and ordinary at first, but the alien could sense the growing energy among them, and the ritual began. A few soldiers took center stage, raising their voices in chants. The rhythm was steady, almost hypnotic, and others followed, clapping hands, stomping feet, and shouting words the alien could not translate. It had studied many species before, but the synchronization of humans was something entirely new. It was not just physical, it was emotional. The alien could feel tension, excitement, and determination radiating from them, a force that seemed to reach outward. Touching everyone around it, the alien tilted its head, trying to make sense of what it was witnessing. Humans were supposed to be predictable, logical, and limited in capability. Yet here they were, moving together as one, driven by something invisible, something more powerful than weapons or strategy. Every chant, every movement, every glance seemed to carry meaning beyond what the alien could quantify. It noticed small acts of encouragement, a soldier placing a hand on another's shoulder, a quick smile, a whispered word that brought reassurance. These were not tactical instructions. They were something deeper, something that strengthened the human spirit itself. Time passed slowly. The alien watched as the ritual grew in intensity. Soldiers stomped harder, shouted louder, and moved faster. The alien sensors could detect elevated heart rates, adrenaline, and heat, but these were only part of the story. There was something else, something it could not measure. It was a feeling, an invisible thread connecting the soldiers, pulling them together, building courage and confidence. For the alien, it was confusing. In its civilization, strength came from logic and preparation. Here, strength seemed to grow from unity and emotion, from the energy humans shared with each other. At one point, the alien saw a soldier falter, stumbling slightly under the strain of the ritual. Another soldier immediately reached out, steadying them, whispering words of encouragement. Instead of retreating, the first soldier stood taller, eyes brighter, fists tighter. The alien paused, analyzing this interaction. It had recorded countless examples of teamwork across species, but this was different. The human spirit seemed to respond to care and encouragement, becoming stronger when supported. It was as if their weaknesses could be transformed into strength simply through connection and trust. The alien's attention was drawn to a circle forming at the center of the field. Soldiers took turns stepping into it, performing chants, movements, and gestures that were at once simple and powerful. Each soldier added their energy to the group, and each step seemed to feed the next. The alien watched as one soldier, whose face was marked with sweat and dirt, began shouting with such intensity that the air itself seemed to vibrate. The others followed, their voices rising and falling together, a chorus of determination and defiance. It was unlike anything the alien had expected. By midday, the alien began to feel something strange. It had always been trained to remain objective, detached, and unaffected by emotion. Yet now, as it observed the humans pushing themselves beyond fatigue, as it saw the bonds between them strengthening, it felt a stirring deep within itself. It was not fear or confusion. It was something new. Curiosity, awe, perhaps even something resembling respect. The alien paused to process this sensation, but it could not fully understand it. It had no framework for such experiences. The ritual continued for hours. Sweat ran down faces, muscles burned, and voices grew hoarse. Yet the energy did not fade. If anything, it became more intense. The alien watched soldiers supporting one another, correcting stances, shouting encouragements, and moving in rhythm. Even when mistakes were made, the group adapted instantly, lifting each other up, filling gaps, correcting errors. The alien realized that the humans were not just individuals. They were a living, breathing network of determination and strength. Their unity amplified their power, creating something far greater than any single soldier could achieve. At one point, a soldier raised their fist and shouted words that the alien could not translate. The gesture seemed to electrify the group. Others echoed the words with their voices, stamping their feet, pounding shields, and clapping in unison. The alien's vision widened, capturing every motion, every expression, every moment of intensity. It began to notice small details that made the human's behavior even more remarkable. The subtle eye contact between two soldiers across the field, the way one adjusted another's armor without being asked, the shared smiles when a chant succeeded. Each small action strengthened the larger whole, creating a chain of energy that seemed unstoppable as the sun began its descent. Casting long shadows over the field, the alien could no longer remain entirely detached. It felt a faint pressure in its chest, a tension that it did not know how to interpret. For the first time, the alien realized that it was not merely observing a physical training exercise. It was witnessing the human spirit itself, the courage, loyalty, determination, and care that bound them together. The energy was palpable, almost alive, and it filled the alien's mind with questions it could not answer by evening. The ritual had slowed, and the soldiers gathered quietly, catching their breath and sharing light laughter. The alien remained a short distance away, recording notes, but its focus had shifted. It was no longer only cataloging actions. It was trying to understand meaning, essence, and purpose. Something about humans had begun to penetrate its understanding, something that logic and data alone could not capture. The alien realized that if it wanted to truly understand these beings, it would need to look beyond physical actions and observe the invisible forces that connected them. As the day ended, the alien retreated to a small clearing to process what it had witnessed. Its mind raced, reviewing hours of observations, analyzing rhythms, emotional exchanges, and patterns of energy. But no calculation could fully explain what it had seen. The human's unity, determination, and shared spirit created an impact far beyond simple metrics. The alien's gaze lingered on the horizon, where the field met the sky, and it realized that its mission had already changed. It was no longer a detached observer of behavior. It was a witness to something extraordinary, a force that could not be ignored or understood through conventional analysis. By the end of part 2, the alien sat quietly, feeling the beginnings of what would later become the 1,000-yard gaze. It had seen the humans in motion, pushing themselves, lifting each other up, and creating a shared energy that was both inspiring and overwhelming. It had begun to understand that strength was not just physical or tactical. It was emotional, communal, and deeply human. For the alien, the day had been a revelation, and it knew that the coming days would reveal even more. The humans had already left a mark on its consciousness, and nothing about the mission would ever be the same again. The alien arrived early that morning, moving quietly along the tree line, careful not to disturb the humans as they prepared for the day. The previous days had left a strong impression. The rituals and the unity of the humans had been far beyond anything the alien expected. Today, it sensed something different in the air, a tension that was thicker and more electric. It was not just another training session. It felt like the humans themselves knew that today would be something extraordinary. On the field, the soldiers were already gathering in formation. The alien noticed their movements were sharper, more synchronized than ever. Each soldier moved with intention, checking gear, adjusting straps, and exchanging quick nods. There was a quiet intensity among them, a sense that this day was not just about preparation. It was about showing something that could not be measured by drills or exercises alone. The alien observed every small detail, from the way the sun reflected off helmets to the way shadows stretched across the ground. But it was the energy in the human's movements that captured its attention the most. The ritual began slowly, almost cautiously. Soldiers stepped forward in a circle, chanting softly at first, their voices rising gradually. The alien watched, fascinated, as the energy in the group began to build. Hands clapped, shields thudded against the ground, and voices echoed across the field. The rhythm was mesmerizing, and the alien felt a strange pull toward the center of the action. It was trying to remain detached, but each beat of the chant seemed to carry weight. As if it were more than sound, it was a wave of shared human will, filling the space and demanding attention. As the ritual intensified, The alien noticed details it had never recorded before. The soldier's eyes were sharp, alert, and alive with determination. Each glance, each gesture, each small movement carried a message of encouragement or focus. Even those who seemed tired or hesitant were lifted by the group's energy, their strength renewed by the collective effort. The alien tried to quantify this, to understand it logically, but the energy went beyond reason. It was visible in the posture, audible in the chants, and almost tangible in the way the humans moved together as one. The circle of soldiers began to tighten, their movements faster and more forceful. Each stomp of a foot, each pound of a fist, seemed to echo through the alien sensors. The ritual was no longer a simple exercise. It was a living force, growing stronger with every moment. The alien watched in awe as one soldier, face flushed with exertion, led a chant with such passion that the sound seemed to reverberate across the entire field. Others joined in, amplifying the energy until it felt almost physical, as if the ground itself had begun to vibrate with the human spirit. The alien noticed a young soldier stumble under the intensity of the ritual. Another quickly stepped forward, supporting them, whispering words of encouragement and adjusting their posture. The young soldier's eyes lit up with renewed determination, and they immediately rejoined the rhythm. The alien paused, taking careful note. These moments were not about commands or strategy. They were about care, connection, and trust. The human strength grew from the bonds they shared, from lifting one another when weakness appeared. The alien had studied teamwork before, but never had it seen collaboration so emotionally powerful, so alive. The ritual reached its peak in the late morning. Soldiers were moving in perfect rhythm, shouting chants that had become almost deafening, slamming fists and shields in unison. The alien observed, trying to capture every detail, the synchronized movements, the swelling voices, the energy that radiated from the humans and seemed to fill the field. It felt like a force that could not be resisted or contained, a wave of emotion and willpower that lifted each soldier beyond ordinary limits. For the alien, it was overwhelming. No species it had studied before had produced anything like this. The alien felt a subtle shift inside itself, something it could not ignore. It had been trained to observe without feeling, to record without judgment, and to remain detached at all times. But now, as the humans reached the height of their ritual, something stirred in its consciousness. It was not fear, and it was not confusion. It was a new, unexpected sensation. The alien felt itself drawn into the ritual, almost as if it were participating, even though it remained physically separate. The intensity of human emotion, unity, and determination pressed against the alien's understanding in a way it had never experienced before. One soldier stepped forward from the circle and raised their arms high, shouting words that the alien could not translate. The energy from that single action spread instantly through the group. Others echoed the gestures and the chants, their voices blending into a single, unstoppable force. The alien observed, eyes wide, unable to turn away. It felt as though the human's will and courage were visible, something alive and tangible. It began to understand that this was not just preparation, it was expression, ritual, and proof of something far deeper than physical strength. As the day progressed, the alien noticed that every small action reinforced the group's collective power. When a soldier stumbled, another helped. When a voice wavered, a cheer restored confidence. When fear appeared, unity dissolved it. The alien was struck by how humans drew strength from one another, how their connection transformed weakness into courage. It was a living system, fluid and dynamic, constantly building and amplifying energy. The alien had no word for it in its language. It had never encountered anything so potent. By afternoon, sweat streamed down faces, voices grew hoarse, and muscles burned. Yet the humans continued with unwavering focus. The alien realized that this was more than endurance. It was a display of spirit. The physical actions were a vessel, but the energy behind them, the care and encouragement shared, was what truly mattered. The alien's mind struggled to comprehend it, but even without understanding, it could feel the power. It was as if the humans had discovered a source of strength beyond anything measurable. And it was alive in every movement, every chant, every glance. The ritual finally began to wind down as the sun started to descend. Soldiers gathered, breathing heavily, but still alert. Some smiled, some laughed quietly, and some sat silently, absorbing the energy that had been created. The alien stepped back, recording its notes, but also quietly reflecting. It realized that it had been witnessing something extraordinary, not just a ritual, not just preparation, but a glimpse of the human heart at its most powerful. The physical movements were impressive, but it was the invisible bond, the shared courage and determination that had left the deepest mark by evening. The alien retreated to a quiet place, far from the field, to process the day's observations. Its mind replayed every moment of the ritual, the pounding fists, the echoing chants, the encouraging gestures, and the unbreakable unity of the humans. It understood something fundamental: humans were strong, not just because of their weapons or strategy, but because of their spirit, their ability to connect, to inspire, and to lift one another higher than they could go alone. The alien felt a faint stirring, a subtle tension, a realization that this was something it could never have anticipated. The alien remained in that quiet place long after the sun had disappeared, staring into the distance as night fell. It reviewed every note, every recording, every observation, yet it knew that no analysis could truly capture what it had witnessed. The human's ritual had revealed something invisible, something profound, and it had left a mark on the alien that could not be erased. This was the first time it had felt that human behavior contained something far greater than logic or order, a force that could inspire, challenge, and transform anyone who witnessed it. By the end of Part 3, the alien sat quietly, watching the stars appear above the field. It had been a day of revelation, a day that pushed the limits of its understanding. The ritual had reached its peak, leaving the alien both awed and unsettled. It had glimpsed a power that was not physical but spiritual, not tactical but emotional. The humans had demonstrated something extraordinary, something the alien could feel but not fully explain. And for the first time, the alien realized that its mission was no longer just observation. It was an encounter with the human spirit itself, a force it could not ignore. The alien woke before dawn, moving silently across the field where the humans had gathered. It had spent the previous day absorbing every detail of the ritual, yet the memory continued to linger in its mind like a faint vibration it could not shake. The alien had never felt anything like it. It had been trained to remain calm, objective, and detached, yet a subtle tension had been building inside, a pressure it could neither measure nor release. Today, it felt heavier, more immediate, as if the energy of the humans had seeped into its very being. When the humans began to assemble, the alien noticed an unusual electricity in the air. The soldiers moved with purpose, sharper and more focused than ever. Even the smallest gestures seemed amplified, the way one soldier adjusted another's ear, the way a hand on a shoulder conveyed encouragement, the way eyes met and silently communicated strength and trust. The alien sensors registered these actions, but it struggled to quantify them. It sensed something deeper, an invisible force that connected the group and powered each individual. It was as if the humans had created a living current of energy, and the alien, for the first time, felt its pull. The ritual began gradually, almost as if the humans were feeling their way into it. At first, the chants were soft, measured, and cautious. The alien watched closely, analyzing the rhythm, the posture, the cadence of the words. But slowly, the energy began to grow. The shouts became louder, the stomps harder, the pounding of fists on shields more deliberate and resonant. The alien felt the vibration of the ground and the rising force of human will in a way it had never experienced before. The rhythm was hypnotic, compelling, almost overwhelming. Then it happened. As the humans reached the peak of the ritual, a wave of energy swept across the field, and the alien was caught completely off guard. It could see the determination in every soldier's eyes, hear the raw power in every chant, and feel the invisible connections binding them together. The alien had always thought of observation as simple, as logical, as detached, but now every instinct screamed that something extraordinary was happening. It tried to remain calm, to record data, to process logically, yet its body betrayed it. Its hands trembled slightly, its breathing became shallow, and its vision seemed to sharpen while at the same time widening in an almost unreal way. The alien stepped back, instinctively trying to distance itself, but it could not escape the force of what it was witnessing. The soldiers' movements, their voices, their sheer presence pressed on its consciousness. It saw fear, courage, fatigue, hope, and determination, all intertwined in ways that seemed impossible to separate. It saw a soldier stumble and quickly be lifted by the support of another. It saw eyes lock across the field, sharing unspoken reassurance, unbreakable trust, and absolute focus. Every small gesture became part of a larger wave, a force that pulled on the alien's perception, tugging at a part of itself it had never known existed. The alien's mind raced, attempting to categorize what it was seeing, but nothing fit. In its civilization, strength came from planning, precision, and control. Here, strength came from something else entirely. It was raw, unquantifiable, yet undeniably powerful. It was emotion transformed into action, fear transformed into courage, weakness transformed into collective determination. The alien could feel the impact of this energy as if it were physical, its heart or what it recognized as its version of one beat faster. Its thoughts became scattered. It felt a strange warmth, a pressure, and a sensation that it could only describe as awe mixed with fear. A single soldier stepped into the center of the circle, shouting with a voice that seemed to echo in every corner of the field. The energy from that voice spread instantly, cascading through the others, lifting them higher, tightening the rhythm of movement, intensifying the chant. The alien's vision seemed to stretch outward, capturing every detail, every motion, every flicker of emotion. The collective force of the humans hit the alien in waves, like crashing tides it could neither resist nor fully comprehend. For the first time in its life, the alien experienced something beyond observation. It felt, it absorbed, it was affected. The alien's sensors were overwhelmed. Its logic circuits, trained to analyze and categorize, faltered under the weight of human spirit. It tried to process the data, but it no longer mattered. Numbers could not capture courage, determination, or the invisible threads of trust and unity. It could not calculate the strength that rose from shared hardship and collective effort. All the alien could do was watch and feel. And as it watched, it began to realize that it would never see humans the same way again. Sweat poured down the soldiers' faces. Voices cracked and grew hoarse, but the ritual never wavered. One soldier tripped and nearly fell, but another grabbed their arm and pulled them back, shouting encouragement. The alien could see the transformation in an instant. The faltering soldiers' fear turned into renewed strength, their determination reignited by the support of the others. The alien's mind, trained for detachment, could not ignore it. Something deep inside was shifting, bending toward the impossible realization that human spirit was not just an idea, but a tangible force. Hours passed, yet the ritual continued, a relentless, mesmerizing display of unity and strength. The alien's gaze became fixed, its mind entranced. It could see everything, the sweat, the dirt, the strained muscles, the fleeting smiles, the shouted words, but it was the invisible connections that held its attention. It could feel the bond between the soldiers, the unspoken trust, the energy that moved like a current through every body and every gesture. The alien's understanding of strength, strategy, and preparation was crumbling. Replaced by a new, overwhelming awareness. By late afternoon, the alien could no longer remain completely detached. Its calm, analytical self had been replaced by a mixture of awe and shock. It understood that what it was witnessing was not just preparation, it was a revelation. Humans were strong in ways the alien had never imagined. Their weapons, their tactics, their numbers, all were secondary. What made them formidable was the spirit that flowed between them, the courage that rose from unity, and the care that transformed weakness into strength. The alien finally stepped back, overwhelmed, unable to take its eyes off the field. Its vision widened, its mind raced, and yet a strange clarity emerged amidst the chaos of sensation. This was the moment that would become known in its consciousness as the beginning of the 1,000-yard gaze. It was a state of awareness that combined awe, respect, confusion, and the first hint of fear, not fear of harm, but fear of the sheer power and potential of human spirit. The alien realized that it was witnessing something that could not be measured, controlled, or fully understood. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the field, the alien finally retreated to a quiet clearing to rest. Its body was tense, its mind racing, and yet there was a sense of profound respect settling over it. The day had changed everything. It had seen humans at their most raw, most powerful, and most united. It had been overwhelmed, unable to remain entirely objective, and it had felt the force of their spirit pressing against its consciousness. The alien understood that its mission would never be simple again. By nightfall, the alien remained in the clearing, staring up at the stars. The memories of the ritual, the chants, the movements, and the invisible bonds replayed in its mind. It had witnessed human strength in a way no data sheet, observation, or analysis could ever capture. It had been affected in ways that could not be undone. And as it sat quietly, the alien realized something profound. Humans were extraordinary not because of their skill or their strategy, but because of their hearts, their courage, and their connection to one another. By the end of Part 4, the alien had crossed a threshold. Observation had become experience. Detachment had become awe. Logic had given way to recognition. And deep within, the first flickers of the 1,000-yard gaze burned brightly, a gaze that would forever carry the memory of the human's unparalleled spirit and the profound impact of what it had just witnessed. The alien had spent the night in quiet reflection, far from the field where the humans had performed their powerful ritual. Sleep had been difficult, its mind racing with images, sounds, and sensations it could not easily organize. The chants, the pounding of fists, the shouts of encouragement, and the unbreakable unity of the humans replayed over and over. It had come to Earth expecting to record and analyze, to observe and report. Instead, it had experienced something it could neither categorize nor ignore. When morning arrived, the alien moved cautiously back toward the training field. The humans were already awake, their routines calm but purposeful. Some were cleaning equipment, others were practicing small drills, and a few were sitting quietly, speaking in soft voices. The alien observed all of it, noting the precision of their movements, the care in their gestures, and the focus in their eyes. Yet, what it remembered most vividly was not the physical activity, it was the energy. The invisible threads connecting each soldier to another, the bonds that had made the previous day's ritual so overwhelming. The alien wandered to a quiet spot, slightly removed from the humans. Sitting down to process what it had witnessed, it replayed the events in its mind, the growing intensity of the chants, The rising wave of unity, the encouragement given to those struggling, and the collective strength that had seemed to surge from nowhere and lift everyone higher. It realized that it had underestimated the humans. On the surface, they appeared ordinary, even fragile. But underneath, they carried a spirit that could not be ignored or measured out as the hours passed. The alien continued to observe the humans quietly. A soldier stumbled while lifting equipment. Another reached out to steady them with a gentle hand and a whispered word. The alien noticed how the fallen soldier immediately recovered, renewed by the simple act of care. It was an interaction that would have seemed insignificant to an outsider or in any ordinary report. But the alien understood now that this small act contained immense power. The human strength was not just physical. It was emotional, communal, and shared. They built each other up in ways the alien had never witnessed before. Throughout the day, the alien moved slowly among the periphery of the field, noting the smaller, subtler rituals that accompanied their daily routines. Some soldiers rubbed charms or symbols on their gear. Some tapped fists on shields. Others shared brief nods or smiles of reassurance. At first glance, these actions seemed minor or even meaningless. But the alien could sense that each gesture, each small act, reinforced the energy of the group. The rituals were not just preparation. They were threads that strengthened the invisible bonds holding the soldiers together. The alien's mind struggled to reconcile logic with the reality it was seeing. During a break in training, the alien found itself observing a group gathered near a small fire. They spoke softly, laughing occasionally, and some simply sat in quiet contemplation. It noticed the way they leaned slightly toward each other, the care and the gentle touches, and the way they shared food and water without instruction. The alien realized that the human strength was not only in their visible actions or loud displays, it was in these small, intimate moments of trust and support. Even when not performing the dramatic rituals, they nurtured the bonds that allowed them to face the more intense challenges together as the day wore on. The alien took note of the energy that persisted long after the main rituals had ended. The humans' voices, their laughter, the occasional chant, the way they moved and interacted all carried a lingering power. It was subtle but unmistakable. Even when they were quiet, the invisible current of unity and determination ran through them. The alien sensors recorded data as usual, but it had begun to understand that no numbers could truly capture what it was witnessing. The human spirit was alive, moving between them in ways that defied conventional measurement. The alien also reflected on its own reactions. It had always believed that observation required detachment, that emotion was interference. Yet, after witnessing the humans at their peak, it had felt something unexpected stirring in its consciousness that was difficult to describe. Awe, confusion, respect, even a strange sense of fear, all mingled inside it. For the first time, it understood that observation alone was not enough. To truly grasp the human's power, it had to recognize, at least in part, the force of their spirit. The realization unsettled it, but it was undeniable that by late afternoon, the alien moved to a vantage point overlooking the training area. From there, it could see the humans continuing with minor exercises, their movements calm but deliberate. It noticed the subtle ways they encouraged each other. A hand on the shoulder, a nod of approval, a shared smile. Each act seemed small in isolation, but together they reinforced the energy that had carried through the ritual. The alien realized that this was the true source of the human strength. It was constant, persistent, and alive in every interaction. Large or small, the alien found itself returning to the memory of the peak ritual again and again. It replayed the images of synchronized chants, pounding fists, and the energy that had seemed to radiate outward, touching everyone on the field. It remembered the soldiers helping one another, the trust and encouragement that had transformed fear into courage. and the collective determination that had seemed to lift them all higher than they could go alone. The aliens' understanding of strength had changed. It could no longer view the humans as simple creatures to be measured. Their power was something deeper, something that came from connection, care, and shared experience. Even as night fell, the alien remained near the field, sitting in quiet contemplation. The stars above mirrored the faint glow of human activity below, and the alien felt a strange sense of calm. It realized that it had been changed by what it had witnessed. The humans' rituals, their unity, and their shared energy had left a mark on its consciousness that could not be erased. It understood that their strength was not just in preparation or combat, it was in their hearts, in the invisible bonds they built, and in their ability to lift each other higher than they could go alone. The alien recorded notes with careful precision, but it knew that no words or data points could capture the full truth. The human spirit, their courage, and their care were not something that could be quantified. It could only observe, reflect, and try to understand. The alien had begun to recognize that its mission had evolved. It was no longer just documenting behavior. It was witnessing the very essence of humanity. By the end of the day, the alien retreated to a quiet spot, far from the field, and allowed itself to rest while replaying the events in its mind. It reflected on the humans' resilience, their courage, and the bonds that had carried them through the ritual. It understood that these qualities, invisible but undeniable, were what made humans truly remarkable. Their strength was not just in muscle, strategy, or tools. It was in spirit, connection, and care for one another. The alien's respect for them had grown immensely as it sat quietly under the stars. The alien realized that it had been profoundly changed. It had seen humans at their best, had felt the impact of their unity and spirit, and had begun to understand that observation alone could never capture their true power. It knew that the experiences of the past days would remain with it forever, shaping how it viewed humans and the possibilities of their strength. And it knew that the coming days would reveal even more, pushing it to confront the full depth of human courage, resilience, and connection. By the end of Part 5, the alien was no longer just an observer. It had become a witness to the human heart, a recorder of spirit, and a being transformed by what it had seen. The humans' rituals, their unity, and their invisible bonds had left an indelible mark, a memory that would shape the alien's understanding and perspective forever. It had begun to see the true essence of human power, a force far greater than weapons, strategy, or numbers, and it would carry that realization forward into the next stage of its mission. The alien moved slowly toward the edge of the field, its gaze lingering on the humans as they finished their routines. There was a quiet calm now, but the energy it had witnessed over the past days still hummed faintly in the air. The alien reflected on everything it had seen, the rituals, the chants, the shared strength, and the invisible bonds connecting each soldier. It had arrived expecting to observe and report on physical preparation and tactical skills. Instead, it had witnessed something far deeper. The human spirit itself. As it walked, the alien replayed each moment in its mind. It thought of the synchronized chants, the pounding of fists and shields, the way the soldiers lifted each other when one faltered, and the unspoken encouragement that flowed silently among them. The alien realized that strength did not come solely from physical training or strategic planning. It came from connection, courage, and trust. It came from the way humans could transform fear into determination, weakness into resilience, and individuality into unity. Each act, no matter how small, carried immense power. The alien remembered the moment when the ritual had reached its peak. It had stepped back, overwhelmed, and experienced something entirely new. Its body had reacted, its mind had raced, and its senses had struggled to comprehend the force it had felt. That moment, the energy, the courage, the unity, had imprinted itself deeply on its consciousness. It had been a revelation, and it had changed everything. Observation was no longer enough. The alien had been affected, touched by the raw power of human spirit in a way that was impossible to ignore. Throughout the day, the alien continued to watch, quietly and respectfully. The soldiers moved with purpose, performing smaller exercises, sharing quiet laughter, and helping one another with equipment or posture. These smaller moments, almost mundane to an outsider, revealed the true depth of the human strength. The alien understood that the rituals had not been isolated displays. They were part of a larger pattern of care, support, and shared determination. Each gesture, smile, and word of encouragement fed the invisible current that bound the group together. By late afternoon, the alien began preparing to return to its craft to send its report. It paused, however, to reflect on the significance of what it had seen. Its original mission had been straightforward: observe humans, record their behavior, and report back to its civilization. But now, the alien realized that no report could fully capture the essence of what it had witnessed. Strength, determination, courage, and connection could not be quantified or reduced to data points. They were living forces, flowing between humans, creating power that was both visible and invisible, physical and emotional. Individual and collective. The alien activated its recording device, speaking slowly and deliberately. It described the rituals, the chants, the synchronized movements, and the encouragement shared between soldiers. It recorded every detail it could see, every action and reaction. But even as it spoke, the alien knew the words fell short. The true power of the humans lay not in what could be recorded, but in what could only be experienced and felt. It paused often, reflecting, because the observations alone could not convey the depth, intensity, and impact of the energy it had witnessed. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the alien looked out over the field one final time. The humans were gathering their equipment, exchanging smiles, and helping one another return to their quarters. There was a quiet satisfaction in their movements, a calm after the intensity of the ritual. The alien felt a strange warmth as it observed them. Its respect and admiration had grown with every passing day. The humans had revealed a strength far beyond what it had expected, a force that could not be measured, predicted, or fully understood. The alien thought about its civilization and the reports it would submit. It realized that its findings would surprise its superiors. They had expected intelligence, strategy, and technology. What the alien had found was something entirely different: human spirit. It was not the weapons or drills that made humans remarkable. It was their courage, their unity, their ability to inspire and lift each other higher than any individual could go alone. This realization reshaped the way the alien thought about humans. And it knew that its civilization would need to understand this invisible but undeniable power. Night fell, and the alien began to prepare for departure. It moved with care, taking one last look at the field, committing every detail to memory. The energy of the humans, the bonds they had shared, and the courage they had shown would remain with it forever. The alien knew that it had been changed, fundamentally, by what it had witnessed. Observation had become understanding. Detachment had become respect. Logic had been replaced, at least partially, by recognition of something profound and UNQUANT as it lifted into the sky. Leaving the humans below, the alien gazed back one final time. The field, the soldiers, the ritual, they were all imprinted in its memory. The alien felt a quiet reverence, an awareness that this experience had altered not just its report, but its own consciousness. It had witnessed humans at their most raw, most united, and most courageous. The memory of their spirit, their unity, and their care for each other would shape its perspective forever. During the journey home, The alien reflected on the lessons it had learned. Strength was more than power, more than numbers, more than tools or strategy. It was courage, trust, and unity. It was the ability to lift one another in the face of fear and exhaustion. The alien understood that humans could achieve remarkable things because of this invisible power, and it realized that any future interaction with them would require acknowledgement of this reality. They were not simply creatures to be studied. They were beings whose spirit demanded respect. By the time the alien returned to its civilization, it had already begun drafting its report. But it was different from any previous document it had created. It did not focus solely on tactics, efficiency, or strength. Instead, it emphasized the human's courage, unity, and emotional power. It described the rituals, the invisible bonds, the moments of care and encouragement, and the way these forces amplified individual and collective strength. Its report concluded that humans were extraordinary, not because of their physical or technical capabilities, but because of the depth of their spirit. The alien superiors were initially skeptical. They expected a technical report filled with measurable observations. Instead, they received a description of unity, courage, and emotional power that could not be quantified. The alien explained that humans' greatest strength was invisible, flowing between them in ways that created resilience, determination, and unbreakable bonds. It argued that any interaction with humans, whether in peace or conflict, required recognition of this force. Its superiors were surprised, but the report was compelling, impossible to ignore. Even after submitting its report, the alien carried the memory of the humans with it. It remembered the synchronized chants, the pounding fists, the encouragement of soldiers, and the quiet moments of care and trust. It remembered the peak of the ritual, when energy surged across the field and left it stunned, unable to remain detached. And it remembered the lesson. Strength was not only in numbers or weapons, but in spirit, connection, and courage shared between individuals. The alien's gaze, which had once been calm and analytical, now carried a quiet reverence. It had witnessed something extraordinary, and the experience had reshaped the way it understood strength, courage, and unity. From that day on, the alien carried the memory of the humans with it, a constant reminder that true power was not just physical, but deeply human, emotional, and communal. By the end of Part 6, the alien had completed its mission, but it had been transformed in the process. Observation had become experience. Data had become understanding. Detachment had become respect. It had seen humans not as ordinary beings, but as creatures of remarkable spirit, capable of courage, resilience, and unity beyond anything its civilization had previously imagined. And as it moved through the stars, the alien knew that it would never look at humans or at strength itself the same way again.